I went a little too far. And this thing just turned out awesome. Hey guys, you're watching KY Customs. In this episode, I'm building the nastiest engine I've ever got my hands on to go right where I'm standing in my 94 F-150. So kick back, relax, enjoy the episode. If you guys remember, about a year ago, something like that, I posted a video building a 306 cubic inch small block for this truck. It was just the original 302 out of it, board 30 over, intake, cam, heads, stuff like that. Just a really like 400 horsepower, street friendly, throw it together in a couple weeks, put it in the truck and go. That didn't work. If you remember, the valves touched the pistons in that video, and I told you guys then that I was going to have to either switch the pistons or the heads. I hadn't decided which. I had to figure it out from there. Pretty much just brushed over the problem from there. Since then, I built a 9-inch, swapped the wheels, swapped the lug pattern, lowered it, did all kinds of things to this thing. So today I'm finally ready to reveal to you guys my brand new 408 stroker. So let's get to it. This is a 351 Windsor block that I had sent to the machine shop and had it bored 30 over, had it line honed, decked, jet washed. It's all ready to be assembled. And I've got a huge spread of parts on this table. Some of it's under like a drop cloth to just keep it clean. But we're going to be building a 408 stroker for this thing. So we got a 351 Windsor block. I've got an Eagle forged zero balance crankshaft. I've got LPC or Liberty Performance H-beam forged rods and DSS forged pistons with dual valve reliefs for both inline cylinder heads or twisted wedge cylinder heads. I've got all ARP bolts and studs for the bottom end. I've got a main girdle that I'm gonna have to do some clearancing on so it can fit that big stroker kit. I've got my AFR cylinder heads that you guys saw from the last engine build. Elgin rockers, an Anderson N91 camshafts laying in there somewhere, and a bunch of other cool stuff. But today, in this episode, we're gonna be assembling this thing, and then in the next one, we'll probably be dropping it in the truck. So stay tuned for that, kick back, relax, and let's get into this episode of KY Customs. So the assembly process is gonna start with checking bearing clearance on the bottom end. I'm gonna check this new bearing, this new set of bearings, main clearance, oil clearance, whatever you wanna call it, and I'm shooting for somewhere between 2.5 and 3 thousandths. So I'm gonna use plastic gauge and I'll show you guys when that's done. I got the bearings all lubed up with assembly lube. I got the crankshaft clean with carb cleaner on a paper towel. And just a quick tech tip, when you're cleaning stuff like this inside your engine, it's always a good idea to use paper towels or just like paper based things to use for your cloth. Because if you use cotton or something like that, it's gonna get in your engine, it's gonna get in your bearings, and it can cause problems, which you really don't want that stuff floating around in your engine anyway. But if you use a paper based cloth, kind of like a paper towel just from Walmart, paper actually will break down in oil and it will carry it to your oil filter and it'll catch it where it needs to be caught and it won't cause issues. So just a quick tech tip of the day. So basically all you want to do is set your cap in place and you want to seat it with a dead blow. Make sure that you got it down in the block in its little grooves straight before you torque it, because if you torque it and use the bolts to draw it up into the block, sometimes you'll get it kind of crooked and it'll throw your measurement off. So next, we're going to add our nuts and washers, and then we're going to torque it to final spec here in just a second once we get the rest of them on. So once you've got one torqued to spec, you can unscrew it, unbolt it, and take this off. There we go. We've got quite a bit of clearance, I can already tell, because it's not squished out very far. So let's grab our chart. Let's see how we look. So it looks like for this motor, we're pretty close to 3 thousandths of clearance, which is good. That's what we want. So I think we're good to assemble this thing the rest of the way and keep on trucking. Got the crankshaft installed. Went ahead and got it torqued to 105 foot-pounds. For these bolts, that was what ARP specified for these. Spins over nice and easy. There's some assembly lube in there, so it's a little sticky feeling, but there's no catches, no scratching noises, so I think it's all good.
You sure about that?
I checked my in play on the crank, set up a dial indicator on the counterweight, and moved it back and forth with a screwdriver. I've got 5 thousandths of in play, which is right in between the 4 to 8 that this calls for. And so we should be good to start installing rods. And I'm hoping now that these bolts don't hit the cylinder walls like they were, because I started assembling the other day and I had to clearance over here a little bit because I was having some issues with them hitting. So moment of truth, let's see, and then we'll start working on the girdle and trying to get it to fit. And just like that, we've got a bottom end. So got a short block officially, which is awesome. And that was my whole goal for the day. We did a little bit of machine work on the main girdle. Sorry, the heat just kicked on. Did a little bit of machine work on the main girdle so it would clear. And we got no clearance issues. Everything's good. Now the big challenge is getting the oil pump to clear the girdle, and getting it to clear everything, because it's going to be kind of a stretch. But officially got a short block, and that's super exciting because that means I'm one step closer to getting this thing in the truck and taking it for the first drive. So the issue I'm having right now is the oil pump can sit flush with the block. It clears the crank pretty good, but it's running into this bolt right here, or this nut on top of the main support. So I'm going to grind just a little bit off of that shoulder right there on the pump really carefully and try to get it clearance so where this will sit flush and not have any clearance issues. I want to make sure it's not going to hit the crank, which I'm afraid it's going to hit that flange right there when I turn it over. So might have to do a little more grinding than I think, but we'll just have to see as we go. Quite a bit of grinding on the oil pump, and I got it to where it almost sits flush on the block. Almost. It's hitting something here. It'll focus. And I got to looking, and it's actually the drive shaft location is hitting the main support here. So I'm gonna have to take it back off and do a little bit of sanding, but I think I'm gonna save it for tomorrow. I'm gonna go ahead and hang it up for the night because I've made some major progress on this thing today. And so we're gonna come back tomorrow and pick it back up and do a little bit of clearancing on the main support. Should be able to mount the oil pump, and then I can go ahead and start installing the camshaft, time and set, all that good stuff, and I'll bring you guys with me tomorrow. So see you in the morning. So last night, where we left off was, set this over here. Last night where we left off was the oil pump is hitting this bolt just a little bit, or not the bolt, it's hitting the main support just a little bit on that little part where the drive shaft goes in. So I'm going to take the girdle back off right now and do a little bit of sanding on it just to get it to clear. Then we should be able to install this thing permanently with the gasket and everything and be good to go. So let's start with that. Oh, you win some, you lose some in hot rodding. I was clearancing the oil pump and I went a little too far, as you can see. But on the bright side, it fits now. The girdle, I've clearanced it enough to where there's still a little bit hold on to it right there. I don't think that'll hurt anything, but it's clearanced enough where it'll fit. With this now, it no longer hits the ARP stud. So I ordered another one, and I'm pretty sure if I just clearance just a little bit off the top here and not go that far, it should be able to fit. As well as I might run a spacer underneath of it too. That's something I was reading about online just a second ago. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this thing over, and then I'll install the camshaft, time and set, and then I'm gonna start checking to make sure my lifters are going to work, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about when we get there. So the cam going in this thing is an Anderson N91, and it is a nasty camshaft. There's the cam card if you want to pause it and take a look at it. But like I said about everything on this build so far, the most important part of anything is clean, is keep everything clean. So I'm gonna go through and try to clean all the cam bearings the best I can. They've already been cleaned 2 or 3 different times during the process of cleaning the block out. Before I started assembling, just to be sure, I'm gonna wipe them out, wipe down the cam real good with carb cleaner and a paper towel, and then we'll just coat it in assembly lube and install it. You guys have seen me do that before, so I'm not gonna walk you through the whole process, but get this thing thrown in, then I'll put my thrust plate on, and I can install my comp timing set, and then should be good to start checking lifters. So got the camshaft installed, so next step is going to be the thrust plate with some ARP fasteners, because ARP just makes everything better. So I'm going to throw that on, and then I'm going to get my lifters set up, and I'll show you guys what I was talking about when I said we have to test something on them. What I was wanting to check was this right here. This is just a stock set of lifters that I've had laying around and a retainer. This is a roller motor from the factory. It's a hydraulic roller, so it uses these to hold the lifters in place, the retainers. But the problem is sometimes if you have a cam with too much lift, it'll actually lift the retainer up, and you don't want that. So I wanted to test to make sure that wasn't going to happen, because if it did, I was going to have to run link bars, and they're significantly more expensive. But I'm good. I can just run the regular stock style because it doesn't lift the retainer at all when you spin the cam over. So I think we're good to go. Make a quick O'Reilly's run to go get a set of Woodruff keys, and I'm probably going to get some better ones later on. I just wanted to get one that was going to be the right size, because now I'm going to degree the cam. So I've got a friend come over. He's going to help me out. He's got a degree wheel I can borrow. This is the comp timing set that I'm using. It's a double roller, and it's got 3 settings on it. You know, it's got your 0, and it's got advanced and retard, and we're going to try to figure out where we want it set at. So I'll get back with you guys very soon, and it'll be about time to set the heads on and check, see if we have good valve clearance or not. So just in case you guys don't remember from last time, I'm going to go ahead and show you again how to measure valve clearance. You just want to take a little bit of Play-Doh or something similar and just shove it in the valve release, just like that. And you don't want to use too much, because it'll end up down on your cylinders and it's really hard to get out. Don't ask me how I know that. But just a little bit like that'll do in each one. Really all I'm trying to find is how much room I have between the valve and the piston when the valves are open. And I don't remember what the minimum we have to have is. I'll have to look that up here in just a second. But stick them on just like that. I'm going to bolt the cylinder head on and torque these 4 around, or really just tighten it. You don't really have to torque it, and you're going to install it without a head gasket, so whenever you do take a measurement, just add whatever the compressed thickness of your head gasket is, and that'll be your actual measurement. But we'll go ahead and set the cylinder head on, install the rockers and everything, turn it over, and then we'll take it back off and see how much room we actually have. All right, so definitely a good sign. It spun over all the way and stopped. Didn't have any weird catches like last time. That's the moment of truth. Let's see how much valve clearance I actually have. I'm tight. Grab the washers just so I don't lose them. All right, moment of truth. Oh yeah, we've got plenty of room. It's not even thinking about hitting. Check that out. Looks like we've got plenty of room. Spin it over up to the top. Oh yeah, we're good. Look at that. Finally. Let's see. That's the valve clearance that you're supposed to have. It's much better. All right, so I'm officially way farther along with this motor than I got with the last one. That's a huge positive. So I'm gonna remove that other cylinder head, tape everything off, clean everything, and then I'm gonna paint it tonight and let it dry. And I'll come back tomorrow, throw the head gaskets on, install the heads permanently, and then we can start checking push rod length for real, and actually setting it up right. And then we should be good. We're on the track to finish this thing really, really soon. I'm super excited about it because that means next up will be time to bolt it to the transmission and drop it in this thing. So a couple days later, I got the block painted, got all the deck surfaces all clean, wiped down. I'm about to try to find my head gaskets, set them on. Got new head dowels. And next step is going to be to mount the cylinder heads on this thing permanently. So I'm super excited because that means I'm officially going to have a long block, which is awesome. So let's set you guys up for a time lapse. I'm going to go ahead and set the cylinder heads on and show you how to measure push rod length after that. Because I'm going through and doing all these. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up for the day. It's another really good day of progress because I officially have a long block. So got the heads permanently mounted, got them torqued to spec to 110 foot-pounds, got the comp timing set installed, went ahead and upgraded that to an ARP bolt. And flip it over. Got the rotating assembly completely finished, got the main support clearanced so the pump fits, got the spacer made for the oil pump, and got it all installed. And we're back. It's actually a couple days later and I got my buddies in the shop. So we're gonna measure push rod length. I'm gonna show you guys how to do that. And one of the most important things is if you're using hydraulic lifters like this, you want to get a set of either custom or a set of solids. These are just some we took apart, shoved a bunch of washers in, but you don't want them to be retracted when you measure it. So basically put your valve train together. I don't know why I put them in there. Put your valve train together and put your push rod length tool in place of your push rod. I'm gonna get all that set up and I'll show you guys the whole process, actually how to check it. So measuring push rod length, check this out. So this is a roller tip rocker. And you basically want to get this roller dead centered from the tangent point on top of your valve. And as you can see, it's kind of towards the back right now, so I'm going to start by just eyeballing to get it close. I'm going to lengthen this push rod tool just like that until it's pretty close to the center. And once it's close, I'll take it back apart and we'll actually measure it, and I'll show you guys how to do that. So when you want to do this, take it back apart, kind of eyeball it close. I just cleaned the top of the valve with carb cleaner. And you can use a Sharpie, but I'm just using machinist die because we have it. So use machinist die or something just to die the end of that valve right there. And I'm gonna let that dry. And what's gonna happen is I'll install the valve or the rocker and torque it and everything. Not torque it, but we'll set our valve lash to 0 lash where these are supposed to be. I'm gonna spin the motor over a full revolution and it'll make a little mark in the die and we can see where it's actually sitting. And we just wanna get it really close to where it's supposed to be. Once we get our measurement, we can pull the push rod tool out, measure it, and then we can order them. Get them in the mail.
We're rolling.
All right, we got it installed, got it set to 0 lash. I'm just going to turn the motor over a full turn with a wrench, and it should make a mark right there. All right, I'm going to take my Holley lock back off and see how it looks.
Let's get a close up.
It's a little bit down this way, so it looks like I need to shorten it just a little bit. And I'm gonna do it again. I'm just gonna do the process over and over until we get it perfect in the center. And I'll measure the length adjustment tool, write it down, measure the exhaust side, and then I can order push rods. Right, we're back a couple days later, and the push rods came in the mail. So I put 2 of them in yesterday just to check, make sure they were gonna work. I'll show you guys how to actually install these and do them correctly. And then I'll just give you a time lapse of doing the rest. And then after that, I've got valve covers, timing cover, and a water pump to install today. And then we're actually getting really close to dropping this thing in the truck. So stay tuned, keep watching. Hope you guys are enjoying, and let's get to it. All right, so the lifters I got, These are just some basic Ford Motorsport stock style lifters, but they'll work fine for this. But these are hydraulic rollers. So I'm going to set these up for what's called zero lash. You can set, like if you've got like a solid roller motor, you've got to set valve lash to whatever the manufacturer specifies. But with these, you just soak them in oil overnight. Make sure your port right there, the inlet port, is up when you install it. Go ahead and drop that right in your lifter bore. I'm just going to use the factory retainers and everything. Drop your push rod in, install your rocker, and I'll show you guys what zero lash actually means. So these are going to get set up full turn past zero lash, and basically what that means is I'm going to tighten this down by hand until the push rod doesn't spin anymore. It's kind of hard to do while holding the camera, but right about there. Well, maybe a little farther. Right there. I'm going to put a ratchet on it and just go one full turn past that. Then I'm going to lock the poly lock, and that's it. That's all you got to do on these. So I'm going to set you up for a time lapse and do the rest of them, and then we'll keep on going. Just like that, we've got a valve train. Went ahead and got all the rockers mounted. Got everything set where it needs to be. Valve lash is set all the way across. Go ahead and show you guys the intake real quick before we go any farther. This is like a jegs copy of an Edelbrock Super Victor, a single plane, high rise. Difference is it's 200 bucks instead of 550. So I went with it and I polished it, imported, matched it with a die grinder. I worked on it a little bit, deburred the inside. And really that was the only thing I saw that was wrong with it was the casting flash on the inside. It would have been fine, but I just cleaned it up a little bit. It'll be fine, it'll be good. This is a Holley 950 CFM double pumper, mechanical secondaries, no choke, nothing. It's a race carb. CFM calculator on Summit's website came out to be a 950, so that's what I went with. So I've actually got to get some bolts for the timing cover. So I'm gonna go ahead and mount the intake because I have all the stuff to do it, and I'll come back tomorrow and do the timing cover. Oil pan's on the way in the mail, and then right after that, this thing's ready to be dropped in the truck. I just mocked up my pickup tube and I'm gonna clay it, and I'll show you guys what I mean by that. And then we will throw the oil pan in place and move along. Pretty soon this thing will be dropped in the truck. So, all right, so what I mean when I say I've got to clay the pickup tube is basically what we did with the valves. I'm gonna put a Ziploc over it just to keep the Play-Doh from sticking. I'm just gonna take some Play-Doh from the dollar store and shove it all over the end of this pickup. And I'm gonna set my pan in place. And what I'm doing is measuring the distance from the bottom of the pickup to the bottom of the pan. And it needs to be somewhere between 3/8 and a 1/2 inch. So if it needs to be moved a little bit, I can bend the tube up and down. If it's a lot of bit, I might have to end up getting another tube. But we're gonna check this one and see, and it should work because it is the one that came with it. And we'll see what happens. As you can see, the pickup's like touching the bottom, so I'm gonna have to do some bending on it. I'm working with it, but that's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. It's something we can do. So it's looking like the problem is this main support. This thing's caused so many problems installing everything on this engine, but it will be worth it in the end. But just know if you are going to install one of these, it's going to be a lot of testing and trimming stuff and making spacers to make stuff work, and it's a huge pain, but it is worth it. But it looks like the problem is the thickness of this, where this is supposed to be bolted to the top of the main cap. This is raising the pickup tube up, however thick that is, probably a 1/2 inch, and making it hit the bottom of the pan. So I'm gonna have to cut this tab and shorten it, weld it back together a little bit shorter, and we'll go from there. Just like that, a couple cuts, grinds, welds later, I've got a pickup tube that fits. I clayed the bottom of it, so it does measure the right thickness from the bottom of the pickup to the bottom of the pan. And I've got it coming out of the pump, and it just kind of follows the main support down to the new tab. So it's officially time to seal up the bottom end of this engine. I'm gonna drop the new oil pan in place permanently, bolt it down, and then this thing is ready to drop in the truck. And this thing just turned out awesome. I have got a 408 stroker. This thing's officially been sealed up on the bottom end. Everything's finished. It's as far as I'm going to put it together until I drop it in the truck. So, hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. If you have, please like, please subscribe. So, next video, I'll be dropping it in the truck, and I've got some cool announcements coming about the valve covers, as well as these freeze plugs, which you might have noticed have not been put in the block yet. I'll show you guys those in the next video. So, hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.